4, that is environmental balance. Environmental balance. Notes should be completed, children. Write the notes in workbook. If you got the workbook, please write it in your workbook. Second, environmental balance. Now, what is this environmental balance? We will see. 1 second. Through this lesson, we will understand biodiversity and environment. We are going to understand about the biodiversity and the environment. Related food chain and a food web. Food chain and a food web means food कहाँ से किस किस को food मिलता है. Okay? एक दूसरे से डिपेंड रहते हैं. We will see that. Know about the environmental balance. Know about the environmental balance. एक अगर झुक गया, एक अगर खत्म हो गया, दूसरा भी उसकी वजह से खत्म हो सकता है. We will look at this. Okay? Environment is everything that is around us. Environment is everything that is around us. हमारे आजू बाजू में क्या है? Environment. We are living in the environment. It's around us. It's around us. It can be living or non-living things. It can be living or non-living things. Air, water, soil, trees, plants. See it again. क्या क्या है अपने आजू बाजू में? Air है. Water is there. Soil means mud, मट्टी. ये है. Trees are there. Plants are there. Animals, all things are element of environment. All these things are about the environment. Everything is around us. These are the elements is around us are called the environment. Every place on the earth has same kind of living things. Every place on the earth has same kind of living things. All living things and non-living things depend on each other. All living things and non-living things depend on each other. Okay, they depends upon each other. एक दूसरे की तरफ जिंदा रहते हैं. Now see, I eat egg. Okay, egg कहाँ से आता है? चिकन में से. I eat chicken also. Chicken eats what? Worms. Okay, worm कुछ तो खाता होगा. Like that means all each and every living things depend upon each other. Now biodiversity means what? So you see different places have many different types of trees. कहाँ पे भी जाओ you can see a different types of trees are there, birds are there, animals are there, insects are there, etc. मीन जहाँ पर भी तुम लोग जाओगे अलग अलग किस्म के trees, insect, animals you can see. Birds also you can see. So many types of birds are there, so many types of animals are there, so many types of insects are there. Trees are also so many types. The variety we see in all the living things. The variety we see in all the living things that belongs to a particular area is called the biodiversity. उसको क्या बोलते हैं? जहाँ पे हम लोग जाएंगे, wherever we go, we see the different type of birds, we see the different type of trees, we see the different types of animal. यहाँ पे polar bear दिखता है? नहीं. जब हम लोग जाएंगे cold region में, that time we can see a polar bear. There are different types of trees. Cold region में different types of birds रहेंगे, but in a hot region we can see different types of animals like elephant and lion. Okay, means in different types of region you can see different types of varieties of trees, birds, animals. That is called in a particular area it's called a biodiversity of that place. Biodiversity is made up of two words. Bio means life and diversity means variety. Got it everyone? Bio, life on the earth, different types of life on the earth. Variety, different types of variety of animals, trees are present on the earth. Understood till here? Very good. Together means variety of life on the earth. Now we will see one video, otherwise I will show you afterwards the video. Okay, now we will see about the environment. We will see about the environment. The surrounding and the condition in those surrounding which affects the life of various biodiversity there. Bio means what? Life. And diversity means what? Variety. Understood clearly everyone? Okay. There are together known as the environment. जो life अपने आजू बाजू में है उसको क्या बोलते हैं? Varieties है life की. It's called an environment. It includes sunlight, air, water, soil, plants and animal, etc. Okay, it includes what? Water, sunlight, air, soil, plants and animal. Means same like hydrosphere, lithosphere and atmosphere. Each and every chapter is compared to each other, children. पहले का चैप्टर क्यों दिया रहता है? क्योंकि दूसरा चैप्टर की लिंक होता है, वो अंडरस्टूड, वो लिंक होता है, इसलिए पहला चैप्टर हम लोग क्लियर करते हैं. Now we will see about the food chain and food web. We will see about the food chain. Look at the following picture. How do you think are this picture related? कभी किसी ने देखा ये रिलेटेड कैसा है? ये this eat this, mouse eat this and owl eats rat. Can you see? Each picture is a food of next picture. Each picture is a food. एक दूसरे के फूड है, वो खाना है. वो आउल का खाना कौन है? माउस है. माउस का खाना कौन है? कैटरपिलर है. कैटरपिलर का खाना क्या है? ग्रास है. ओके, इस ग्रास का खाना क्या है? ग्रास है. दिस इज अ चेन which exists between these four living things. This is a chain which exists between these four living things. Such chain exists between other living things also. जैसे हम लोग की भी ग्रास कोई खाता है तो हम लोग नॉनवेज खाते हैं. नॉनवेज डिपेंड्स अपॉन इच अदर्स. वी ईट मीट. मीट क्या खाते हैं? फिर गोट क्या खाते हैं? ग्रास खाता है. लाइक दैट मीन्स इच वन इज डिपेंड अपॉन इच अदर. एक दूसरे पर हम लोग निर्भर है खाने के लिए भी, एवरीथिंग. This is called a food chain. This is what we call a food chain. This is called a food chain. Next picture you will come to know. One living things can be part of food chain. One living thing can be a part of many food chains. Combination of food of many food chains is called a food web. Can you see this? देखो कौन कौन किसके ऊपर डिपेंड है. कैन यू सी दिस? ट्रीज के ऊपर कौन, सॉरी, ट्रीज के ऊपर कौन डिपेंड है? सी, giraffe. Then lion depends upon the hippopotamus and all that. Hippopotamus eats grass, means trees and all that. See, everything is given over there. Squirrel eats what? Grass. और वुल क्या खाते हैं? स्क्विरल को भी खाते हैं, बर्ड्स को भी खाते हैं. बर्ड्स क्या खाते हैं? कीड़ा खाते हैं. सी, लायन. देन स्नेक इज देयर. स्नेक को कौन खाता है? ईगल खाती है. फ्रॉग को कौन खाता है? स्नेक को खाता है. देन बटरफ्लाई ऑल्सो ईट्स. ओके, फ्रॉग किसको खाते हैं? ईगल फ्रॉग को भी खाते हैं. मीन्स ईच एंड एवरी वन पर्सन एनिमल्स इज डिपेंड अपॉन ईच अदर. एक दूसरे को खाने से ही हम लोग जिंदा रह सकते हैं. अदरवाइज वी कैन नॉट लिव. ओके, environmental balance. This is called an environmental balance. This is what we call environmental balance. Food web. Okay, this is what we call a food web. Is one of the cycle which exists in nature. Food web is one of the cycle which exists in a nature. There are many more natural cycle like water cycle, nitrogen cycle, cycle of oxygen and carbon dioxide between plants and animals, etc. Between the plants and animal, etc. An environment is called healthy environment. अगर हम लोग एक दूसरे को नहीं खाएंगे तो हम लोग जिंदा नहीं बचेंगे. Nobody will stay alive. All are going to die. All will die. Okay. When all natural cycles go side by side without any disturbance, अपने अपने लाइफ जगो, दूसरे की लाइफ डिस्टर्ब मत करो. Like this, it's the nature का साइकिल है. It's the cycle of a nature. Any type of disturbance in the nature balance, अगर कुछ भी नेचर को बैलेंस को डिस्टर्ब हुआ, everything will be affect. Each and every person, each and every animal will be affect. Now अभी तो कोरोना वायरस आया तो पूरा लाइफ साइकिल खराब हो गया अपना. कुछ खाने को नहीं था, कुछ नहीं, सिर्फ घर के अंदर बैठो, कुछ काम नहीं है, and all that, like that. Now it's raining over there outside, so much rain is going on. Same like this. थोड़ा भी environmental हिल गया, पूरा खराब हो जाता है. पूरा नेचर इफेक्ट होता है, इफेक्ट हो जाता है. ओके, नेचर बैलेंस अफेक्ट्स द एनवायरमेंटल टोटली विच ruins the human lives also. In nature, if any one animal is extinct, means कम होना, no longer exists. जैसे कि डायनासोर्स, they are not no longer nowadays. Dinosaurs are not there. ओके, इट अफेक्ट्स द होल फूड वेब. अभी कोई फूड वेब में डायनासोर को खाता होगा, खाते ना एक दूसरे को, डायनासोर ने खा लिया, ऐसे ही खत्म हो गए ना वो लोग. सेम लाइक दैट. अगर मुझे बोलो मुझे चिकन नहीं मिला, चिकन ही नहीं है पूरा दुनिया में, ये दुनिया में चिकन ही नहीं, नो चिकन इज देयर, देन व्हाट आई विल ईट सम ऑफ द अदर थिंग्स. ओके, लाइक दैट. Plants are the most important part of food chain. part are the most important part of the food chain. So many kinds of animals eat plants. So many kinds of animal eat plants. So they are depending upon plants only. अगर plants ही नहीं रहेंगे तो वो animal रहेंगे क्या? What they will eat? They are going to die. They cannot eat a wild animal ना. Wild animal उनको खा जाएंगे. और उनको जिंदा रहने के लिए उनको क्या चाहिए? प्लांट. अगर प्लांट ही नहीं रहे, trees are not there, how they will stay alive? They are going to die. Because they prepare food for themselves and hence are the starting point of the food chain. If plants prepare their own food, plants को food बनाना आता है तो कैसे होता है? In fourth standard I think so all of you must be knowing this. Photosynthesis. Okay, photosynthesis. Does it means they are not depend on any other living forms? No. We will see one video about this balance. Okay, small video is there. One second, give me 1 second, children.
Chain, an interesting chapter in science, which has a deep link with us.
Is the video audible, teacher?
All species are important
Yes, teacher. Video is audible.
balanced. The balance of nature is a concept which describes the state of equilibrium between living organisms, like human beings, plants, and animals, and also their environment. Now we will try to understand the food chain through a following video.
All living things need energy to survive. So where does that energy come from? Well, matter and energy passes from one organism to another, connecting living things like links in a chain. A food chain. Of course, a food chain is not an actual chain. It's a way to talk about the relationships between organisms and show how matter and energy flow between living things. Every living thing on Earth is part of a food chain, including you. And most things are part of more than one. All of the energy in Earth's food chains comes from the sun. The sun's energy reaches the Earth as light and heat, and plants capture some of it and convert it into food through photosynthesis. Because plants make or produce their own food from the sun's energy, they are called producers. Every food chain must begin with a producer. For example, grass. That's because animals cannot create their own food. They must eat or consume energy from other sources. That's why animals are called consumers. The second link in a food chain is a consumer that eats plants, an herbivore. When an animal eats plants, some of the energy the plant captured from the sun is transferred into the animal's body, where it is used for things like moving, breathing, and growing. An herbivore is called a primary consumer. Primary means first, because an animal eating plants is the first consumer in the food chain. Let's add a rabbit to our food chain. Next comes a secondary consumer, the second consumer in the food chain. This consumer is a carnivore and gets their energy by eating other animals. Maybe our rabbit will get eaten by a fox. When the fox eats the rabbit, part of the energy that the rabbit got from the grass is transferred to the fox. This is the end of this simple food chain. The rabbit eats the grass, then the fox eats the rabbit. The energy that came from the sun is captured by the grass, transferred to the rabbit, and then transferred to the fox. Some food chains are longer than this one, but there can't be too many links in a food chain. Each animal in the food chain uses up a lot of the energy from the previous level instead of passing it on, meaning that only about 10% of the energy consumed by an animal will be passed on to the next level. Let's take a look at a longer food chain that also begins with grass. This time, let's make our primary consumer a grasshopper. The grasshopper eats the grass and then gets eaten by a secondary consumer, a bluebird. Then the bluebird gets eaten by a tertiary or third-level consumer, snake. The snake is eaten in turn by an owl. The owl is the apex predator in this food chain. Apex predators are not hunted and eaten by any animals. We say that they are at the top of the food chain. You probably recognize a lot of apex predators, like lions, sharks, eagles, and crocodiles. Just because they don't get eaten doesn't mean that they don't contribute to the food chain, however. When an animal dies, their body is broken down by decomposers. Decomposers are usually bacteria and fungi that break down dead plants and animals into nutrients in the soil, that in turn help the plants at the beginning of the food chain to grow. It's the circle of life. Natural ecosystems usually have more complicated food chains, however. A network of interconnected food chains is called a food web. The arrows are used to show which direction the energy flows and help keep track of the connections between organisms. Now that you understand a little bit more about food chains, see if you can find the connections between living things around you.
Food chain in ecology, the sequence of transfer of matter and energy in the form of food from organism to organism. Food chain intertwine locally into a food web because most organisms consume more than one type of animal or plant. Food chain is made of producer, consumers, and decomposers. Plants which convert the solar energy to food by photosynthesis is the primary source of the food chain. Producers are organisms that can obtain energy without taking in matter from other animals. Producers get their energy from non-living things such as sunlight. Because of this, producers are known as autotrophs. Since producers do not eat other organisms, they are at the bottom of food chain. So producers are autotrophs or organisms that produce their own food. Animals who eat other animals for the survival are known as consumers. The role of consumers in an ecosystem is to obtain energy by feeding on other organisms and sometimes transfer energy to other consumers. Changes that affect consumers can impact other organisms within ecosystem. They are also known as heterotrophs because they don't prepare their own food. Student, decomposers are very small. We cannot see them through our naked eyes. To see them, we need microscopes. They are always present in our environment, in the air. The decomposers eat dead organisms, both producers and other consumers, and break down the remains. Decomposers process decaying tissues and return nutrients and other necessary molecules. Students, there are many processes and cycles present in our environment due to which environmental balance is maintained. And out of that, the one process we are going to talk about is photosynthesis. It is the process by which autotrophic, that means plant, use light energy to make sugar and oxygen gas from carbon dioxide and water. With this process, oxygen is given out and carbon dioxide is taken in to prepare food by the plants. Another process is water cycle, students. Evaporates from ocean and then returns to the land in the form of rain is known as water cycle. Now students, you can look at the picture and can think about it, what it's representing. It represents that is eaten by grasshopper, grasshopper is eaten by frog, frog is eaten by snake, and at last snake is eaten by fox. And after that, there is a role of decomposers, such as microorganisms. Students, all living things need energy to live and grow, and the flow of energy from an organism to another is known as food chain. A food chain shows the feeding relationship between different organisms in a particular.
Decomposer means what, children? See, अगर means these animals are going to die. Die means die होने के बाद वो जमीन पे आके गिर जाते हैं. देन द स्किन ऑफ झाड़ इज द खत, उनको खत मिलता है किसके लिए, झाड़। फिर ट्रीज कहाँ से हो गए, अगर ट्रीज को खत मिलेगा मीन्स फर्टिलाइजर, ट्री विल गेट अ फर्टिलाइजर, our plant comes outside from the ground, means this all is the food chain depends upon each other. Even the ground depends upon the animals also. Along with the sunlight, water, carbon dioxide, and plant needs lot of manure to make food. Plants also need a manure. Plants also need a manure. प्लांट को मैन्योर कहाँ से मिलता है, जब ये लोग एनिमल्स मरते हैं, इट्स अ डिकम्पोज, उसको क्या बोलते हैं, डिकम्पोज। ओके, ये मरने के बाद क्या होता है, डिकम्पोज होता है, मीन्स उसका बोलते हैं ना मट्टी में मिल जाते हैं, इनको मैन्योर बोलते हैं। ऑल दिस मैन्योर कम्स फ्रॉम द डेड लिव्स, dead plants, dead animal, and excreta of animal. Excreta means what, waste of the animal. It means that all living things depend on other living things also. All the living things depend upon each other, all the other living things also. All the dead matters and excreta is first converted to useful manure and compost before plant use it. There are lots of living forms which do this for plants. Some living forms are tiny but we can see them like worms. Some living forms are very tiny. We are calling them a worm. उनको हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं? We call them a worm. We call them a worm. Everyone understood clear? Now, some living things which also help in making manure are very very tiny, like cockroaches, then earthworm. They are very tiny, okay, but they also are the manure. मरने के बाद भी they काम क्या करते हैं, उनका काम क्या रहता है, manure का. We cannot see them with our naked eyes. These are called microorganisms. These are called microorganisms. Yesterday only I taught you about the microorganism that can be seen from the microscope. Okay, जो छोटा कीड़ा है on the yogurt in EVS 1 I have sorry microorganism. Microorganisms are very small. Okay, micro means what, small, very very small. Micro means what, very very small. Microorganisms are the living things which cannot be seen with a bare eyes. अपने open eyes से we cannot see that. Okay, they are present everywhere. They are present everywhere, in the soil, in the air, in the water, things around us. पूरे लाइफ में पूरे जगह पर वो लोग स्प्रेड हुए हैं. where in the soil, on the land, on the air, water, and things around us. Inside our body also germs are there. Inside our body also germs are there. They help us the whole environment in many different ways. All the living things which help in converting dead matter into useful nutrition for plants are known as a decomposer. They decompose, break down all the dead matter and excreta of animals into nutrition. Excreta, can anybody tell me what is meaning of excreta? The waste of the animal. The waste of the animal. Everyone understood the chapter. This much is the chapter. Everyone understood the chapter? Clearly understood the chapter. Okay, now it's a time for answer quiz time. It's a time for answer question answers time. Can anybody tell me the answer? Okay, 1 second.